And I'm going to go ahead and start the broadcast.
Okay.
The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Welcome to StitchArtist. Let's learn this together. My name's Kirsten. I'm excited to be learning with you today. We have a couple of polls open. I hope that you've had a chance to have a look at them. And my co-presenter is Darrin. Darrin, want to introduce yourself?
Yes. Hello, everybody. Glad to be joining you here. I've digitized before, but it's been a very long time since I've done it. So I've loved the Embrilliance essentials, and so as we have the new capability with StitchArtist to create our own designs, I wanted to pick this up and thought it would be a great time to involve anybody else that would like to learn it as well.
Mm-hmm. Now, I've personally never, well, I shouldn't say never digitized. It's been about 10, 15 years. I digitized one design. I was using the Wilcom system, and since then I've mostly done editing. And so I'm excited because Embrilliance is the first system that really seems like I can use it, and that I've actually had some fun learning parts of Embrilliance so far. So we're going to learn StitchArtist together, and we have a 28-day schedule and a study plan. As part of that, we're sending out emails every 5 days out of every 7. That's because we take weekends off. So there's 2 days that you'll be able to review or look into extra stuff yourself, or take a break. If you're not signed up for the emails, I would suggest that you do that. Here is what they look like. You'll be getting an email each day of our learning program with a bit of an assignment that just helps us to move together and to all be on the same page. So here's our first email. This one shows where to find the manual. We have a video if you need help finding the manual. There's that. There are 3 different versions of where to find the manual, actually. You can find it in the program, or there's a PDF manual where you downloaded the program from. And there's also an online manual which you can access without having downloaded the program. And there are introductory videos for StitchArtist that I'm suggesting that we watch just to get an idea of what we can do. I've tried following along with a few of them. I had to pause a lot. So if you find that's the case, you don't really need to pause and follow along. For now, we're just getting familiar with what we can do. And then later on, as we come back to these videos, they'll be more interesting and more engaging because we'll have some idea what they're doing. We'll actually be able to follow along more easily. So the reading for today would be Welcome to StitchArtist. There is this link here will take us to the StitchArtist page at Embroidery Central that basically outlines StitchArtist, the different levels, their capabilities, and it's got pictures, shows us what is involved in the program. So that's one page that we can read. The other items that we're reading are from the manual. I have the online version open right here, so we can see that. Today we're doing Welcome to StitchArtist, Level 1, Level 2, Level 3, and these other 4. What StitchArtist is not, a note about digitizing, the dual learning curve, and learning with this manual. So those are the things that we are going to be covering as far as our own reading for today. And then tomorrow you'll receive another email taking you into the interface with videos and ideas for ways to begin reading in that area.
Okay.
We're interested. Okay, go ahead, Darrin.
I was going to say, I'll just share with you the poll that we took earlier. So it looks
Excellent.
like most of you have some experience with StitchArtist Level 2. And we've got about 14% that haven't used it. So that gives us a good idea as far as those that have, and it's looking like you're going to be able to teach me a few things.
Awesome. Yes, we'll be answering each other's questions.
We're keeping these webinars pretty casual. It will be recorded, so it'll be available. But if there's something that you want to share or show, we will we can actually set this up so you can show off something that you've learned or that you've done. So just let us know in the comment box. We had one question that said that level 3 wasn't given an option, and it's my understanding that level 3 is not released yet, but it will be soon. And that has some additional features that commercial digitizers would like. The nice thing about StitchArtist is you could actually create designs that are of commercial quality with all 3 levels. But if you're going to do it professionally, there are some time-saving features that are going to be in level 3 that that you'll definitely want to look at if you're going to do this a lot.
Right. Great. Well, where you were talking about us teaching each other, I just wanted to show everybody the forum. If you are on our landing page here, where you'll be able to see we have the events calendar, the webinars, you're already here, and the forum, where we would like for everybody to be able to answer and pose questions as we go along across the days, not just for today during the webinar, but tomorrow, anytime that you're working on it, you have a question or you see somebody else has a question, we welcome you to just jump in and answer it. The forum. Also, I hope that you are familiar with the landing page, because it's got also, oh, I took myself away from it. Awesome. I have to go back to it. The landing page also has the links to all of the other items, like the webinar. The recorded webinars will be linked there. And so will the forum. The forum's linked there, and the videos. The videos are linked here as well. And here we have a gallery too. We hope that as you're going through StitchArtist and starting to do things, that you'll share screen captures or even stitch samples with us so that we can all be inspired.
Jane asked a question. She said she couldn't find the link to sign up for the emails on the web page.
Okay. If you can see my screen right here, you see the pictures of the 3 of us at the top who are participating from Embroidery Central and who can participate, and then you see events. This is where you want to sign up for the emails, is under events. Mine says you are subscribed. Yours probably will have a button that says subscribe. If you push that button, it will subscribe you. If you have any trouble with that at all, if it doesn't subscribe you, then I suggest you email Darrin right here. That's his address. And he'll register for you. You just need to send him your email address.
Yeah, we had a little bit of a problem over the weekend for those that were not registered with embroidery.com to begin with. And so when they clicked on the subscribe button, it's supposed to bring up a message saying that you need to sign up with embroidery.com first. But it wasn't doing that, so it's just going back to the top of the page. So if you're not already registered with embroidery.com, it will take you through that process of putting your name and email address. That's going to be helpful for using the forums and getting the daily emails.
Mm-hmm. And I'll just say that's all that's involved in registering with us. There's no fees or responsibilities with that. Okay, we have any other questions? If you've used StitchArtist before, I'd like to have an idea of some of the specific things that maybe have stumped you or that you have questions about or found to be tricky.
Yeah, a great place to comment on that is over on your webinar control panel. There's a place to ask questions. You can also leave comments. If you would like to be able to talk with the group, you can raise your hand and or indicate in the questions that you've got a microphone, that you'd like to say something or do something. I'm going to just launch another poll here to find out kind of what we've done with StitchArtist here. And I only have, there's just a couple of items here given. There's a lot of features that you can do within StitchArtist, but I'd like to kind of know if anybody's used it to digitize a design. I actually missed one option there. It was to digitize a complete design. That was the fourth option. So
let's get some credit for doing that, right?
yeah, you should. Okay, I'll close that poll in about 10 seconds. Okay. Here, I'll share the results there. So it looks like, although the most of you have StitchArtist, a good share of you have never used it. I would like to know, as far as the questions, what kind of things that you, if you ran into any difficulties, or if there's anything specifically that you're trying to accomplish with it. And one way that we're going to use this forum is if you've got questions, or you can send us a screen capture. We can help in a couple of different ways. One is we can create what's called a screencast, and you've seen some of those where we'll actually show our screen and go through the steps of doing what it is that you'd like to accomplish. The other is we can arrange a time that we can share our screens. So it's just kind of like a miniature meeting, and we can kind of look at it. Now, again, I've got some digitizing background as far as theory, but I've not used the features of StitchArtist literally until just a couple of days ago. And so far it seems to be pretty intuitive as far as what's, because I've used Embrilliance, I've used CorelDRAW or some other art programs. I know that some of those steps as far as creating, working with the outline tools can be a little bit confusing at first, or a little bit intimidating, but I would like to concentrate on those if they are. So it looks like I'm getting some comments here. Okay, I've got Tara that has mentioned using it for hidden stitches with appliques and satin stitches. Is something she'd like to see. Pamela has asked, is there now or will there be a mechanism to actually draw a box around part of the design and then just delete that area?
Oh, draw a box and delete the whole area. I am not sure. That's a good question. Let's look it up. If so, but if you know, if you're listening and you know, chime in, please.
Yeah, so what I'm imagining is that we've got I know that you can draw a box around objects, and if it highlights those objects, that it deletes those. Some have wondered, like, okay, if you've got this, this entire filled area, and you come in and you draw a box over the top of it and you hit the delete, it's actually going to create a shadow of that box. It'll just delete, right in the middle of the design. And I'd like to kind of know which method Pam is interested in.
Well, would you like me to share my screen on an image, and let's just look at a design here?
Okay.
I just need to switch to the other screen. Let's see. Here we go. Okay, can you see StitchArtist?
Yes, I can.
It's there. Okay, so I have a heart. Let me show you right here in the upper right-hand corner. Is this compass rose icon. This is called the HUD Navigation. So touch it, and it shows you your whole stitch document area. And so if I push A, this gives me all of my stitch information, zooms in on all of it. And I have a tiny design, so it zooms in really far. If I touch S, it will jump out and just show me the selected area. Of course, if I have something smaller selected, like this, I don't think I can select anything smaller. Interesting. Just the design, because that's the one item that I have. So, well, now I've just selected the heart without the outline. Let's jump in and zoom to that. Woohoo! It's not really different, but you can see that that I've selected something different over here on the right. If I select just the outline, I can do that. Over here in the Objects panel is where I'm touching the parts of the heart design. Also, there is the H here at the top of the HUD, and if I push that, that lets me see the whole hoop area. Let's see, so if I switch to the StitchArtist up here in the Tool panel, then in the, I should remember the name for this. What do you call this panel, Darrin? It's the Options, I think, where...
Let's see.
I know where to find this information. I just want to get my terminology right. It changes depending on what you're using.
Okay, are you talking about the properties box on the side, or are you talking about the control panel on the top?
Well, see, here we have the tool panel on top.
Okay.
And then, the tool pane. That's what I'm looking for, tool pane. This area here that shows image and the two T's, and over on the right has the stitch, different types of stitches. That's what I'm talking about, the tool pane. So this is what we get when we have StitchArtist that we don't get when we have some of the other, like, essentials. We don't get all of these different tools in the tool pane. Okay, Darrin, you said we had a few more questions. Did we have others?
Yeah. See, Brenda said that in Embrilliance Enthusiast, you can lasso or box areas that you want to delete.
Mm-hmm.
So she's confirmed that in the Enthusiast. Now, for those of you that don't know how the Embrilliance platform is set up, is you can buy different Embrilliance products. Some of the most popular are the Essentials, Enthusiast, StitchArtist. There's a density repair kit. Each of these programs can work independently, or they will work together. So if you, for example, if you have Enthusiast and you have StitchArtist, you will have both of the options for both Enthusiast and StitchArtist, up here on the bar. So up
here in the tool panel?
Here up on the tool panel, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You'll get various options there. This is really nice because, some people aren't interested in doing digitizing. They just want to do, sizing or add lettering. Others are interested in doing, combining designs or digitizing, and you're not interested in doing pocket toppers. So that lets you pick specifically the tools that you're interested in. And or if you're using them all, it's all in convenient one place. So anyway, that was a comment there. I have a question from Donna, who asked how to put satin stitch border. Let's see, how to put a satin stitch border with a fill on a narrow part of a design.
Okay, so you're talking about putting a fill inside the design with a satin stitch border around the edge.
Yeah, let's go with that.
Okay.
Maybe she'll write back to me and tell me differently.
Okay, I will put that down.
Okay, Rebecca asks, how do you create brushstroke looks as seen in Chinese or Japanese calligraphy?
Oh, interesting. To me, that sounds like doing a satin stitch that varies in width, being wider at one end and not as wide at the other end.
Yeah, typically with the calligraphy, we're talking about a nib that is shaped usually narrower in the center, and for some of the the English-based fonts, the calligraphy-based, we've got that nib at a 45-degree angle. So this is really kind of an art issue. And I think that it's going to take me a little bit more time than in this webinar, but I would love to create a screencast to show how to do that.
Mm-hmm. Great. We have lots of good ideas for our screencasts. We have further comments, Darrin?
Vicky said she attended a Floriani workshop last weekend where they did a demo of their software. One of the things that they were able to do was to add an image the way that you do in StitchArtist, but they were able to use a tool that automatically digitized the whole thing.
Oh, okay. I can say that StitchArtist does not do that. but you can take an image and color over the top of it with stitches.
There are...
In fact, the sorry, Darrin, I'll just finish here and say that
Okay.
the Lisa Shaw video that we have linked for today actually shows how to do that, how to bring up an image and then color over it. Okay, go ahead, Darrin.
Okay. Yeah, there's a couple of steps when it comes to the auto digitizing. And there are a few digitizing systems out there that will, take a simple design, break the whole design apart, even if it's multiple colors, and go through and create the paths, essentially digitize the design. So that's the most advanced of auto digitizing. As a digitizer, I just have to tell you that after we had set up our digitizing business and we were doing it for about 6 years or so, we thought, well, we're going to expand and we're going to get into this auto digitizing. And we ended up spending $30,000 for a digitizing system that would do auto digitizing. Now, keep in mind that this is 15 years ago. Well, almost 20 years ago, I guess.
Oh dear.
I'm aging it. And I was actually quite, I was excited about it. They sold us on this. But as we really worked with it, we were disappointed in the results because it was inconsistent. And I've got a comment here that someone said that they hate auto digitizing, too many nodes, messy results. I can vector draw it better myself. And that's the conclusion that I came to as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I remember that was your experience. Just
yeah.
isn't as smart as a person doing it.
Yeah, and then we tried to sell that digitizing system. It took us a long time to do it. It was a very nerve-wracking time because I found that even though it would do some things, I couldn't use it consistently commercially because I didn't have the finer control. And so where most professional digitizers sit as far as where they create designs is they'll bring in some artwork, and there will be a feature, and StitchArtist has this, that will outline it or create an outline, or you can be brought in as a template and you can just draw your own line around it. For somebody that picks up on how to use Bezier curves, they like to do their own because it brings in far less nodes, it's less messy, and it's a little bit more versatile than if it's outlined. But sometimes it is handy to have it auto outline a particular area, and then you choose the design or the stitches that go with it. So I've got several comments here.
Okay.
Go ahead, and I'm going to read through these.
Okay, I'll show you what it looks like to pull in a picture into StitchArtist. So this is just some sample pictures on my computer. You can create better ones for digitizing from, but I'm going to open this penguin image. And you see how it shows the grid over the top of it, and it shows the dancing penguins are kind of like a watermark. They're not really dense and bright. And so this is what you would digitize over the top of. So then you take your digitizing tools and begin to draw across them. I followed along a little bit with one of Brian Bailey's videos on how to do this, but I'm not confident enough to go ahead and try to make penguins yet.
So with this one here, where it's an image, there's not going to be any auto digitizer or outline that's going to work very well with that one. So this one we would just draw over the top of it, and that's how we used to digitize it. Actually, you guys are all spoiled. I told you how much we spent for our digitizing system. They were tens of thousands of dollars. And the artwork that we created, we'd have to go through this, well, a lot of the artwork we did by hand, put on a big digitizing tablet, and then put the points in at 3 times. Kirsten remembers those days when we used to do that.
Oh yeah, I remember the artwork had to be really, really precise.
Mm-hmm. And you'd get it really large, and you'd have to go through and path the design yourself. So much of that's done automatically, and it's done with good quality too. So you can really save some time with those. I've got a question here. Is there a file type that works best when importing into the software? what basically, there's been this debate whether it's better to take in a vector-based piece of artwork. A vector-based means that, it's like something from Adobe Illustrator, for example, or the drawings that you make in Embrilliance. The advantage with that kind of format is that if you enlarge the design significantly, you end up with some, nice, smooth edges. And this was something that we were, when I was doing digitizing, we were really pushing for. We really wanted a vector. Quite frankly, we found that a good bitmap with the trace around it on the final project, when you sew it out, that we couldn't see much difference. And that's because, looking at stitches themselves, we're talking about something that's really quite low resolution. In other words, there's a lot of margin for error as far as where the stitches, are placed. Mm-hmm. And I do know that, Brian had mentioned that they were coming up with, on the professional version, that you would be able to bring in some vector-based drawings. I can't tell you for sure whether this one is or not, but I know that, future that they will.
I wonder perhaps if the question might have been more about embroidery formats. And to that, I can answer, as far as I can tell, there really doesn't seem to be one that works a whole lot better than the others, meaning it pulls everything in really well. And it shows, you can see the stitches and manipulate all the stitches and all the color stops and jumps with any embroidery file that I've opened. Mostly I use PES because that's the kind of machine that I mostly use. But StitchArtist recognizes so many formats. The one format that I've noticed it doesn't actually write is ART. That's interesting. It pulls ART in, but it can't write it.
Yeah, ART is a proprietary format and the only software that will actually write an ART file. To the best of my knowledge, correct me if I'm wrong, but I've, everything that I found out is that it's created by either Bernina or Wilcom, and Wilcom and Bernina works together to create the software to create the ART format. The file formats that have the most versatility are those that are scalable. And for the Embrilliance platform, it's the BE format. You're working with an original, which will give you, which will resize the design as if you digitized it. The other formats are an interpretive sizing, so it will go in and determine what kind of stitches are used, and it will create its own outline. And then when you enlarge it or reduce it, it will be based on that interpretive results, which is a little bit more unpredictable. They do such a good job with it that it works with with almost everything. But if we get down to the the science of it, we really want to stick with the scalable format if we can. So if you create a design in a BE format, it's great to bring that back in.
Right, good point.
Okay, Vicky said that she says she's trying to digitize some friends' drawings, but when they zoom in, they become very blurry. So using the vector would help clean things up, or would they help clean things up? Yes, in that case it would. If you had a vector image, most likely you're starting with a bitmap that's too small to begin with. And if they could provide you a vector image, you could take it into not necessarily Embrilliance at this time because it doesn't bring in the scalable formats, but you could enlarge it, for example, in Word or CorelDRAW or Adobe Illustrator, and save it out as a bitmap, but at a higher resolution. So if you have a high resolution bitmap, and we're not talking super high resolution either, we're only talking about 100 DPI or or an image that's about 1,500 pixels across or more, you're going to get a pretty clean image when you bring that in.
Yeah, I see in the manual that vector images are level 3, so we get to wait for that a little bit. But bitmap images we can use in the StitchArtist 1 and 2.
Yeah. Okay. Now I'm getting, there's several. I'm just going to read some of these as far as things that that people would like to see.
Okay.
And the way we're going to handle this is we're going to create some screencasts that show these. So the questions that you're asking here, you'll get some answers for. It's not going to be immediately here in this webinar, but we will create a series of screencasts that show it the best that we can, because I think that's a little bit more concise. Plus, frankly, you're asking questions that I don't quite know how to do yet. I'm going to look at it and say, okay, I'm going to figure this out.
There you go.
And if I can't, I'll get with some help and figure it out so that we can bring it to you. Like I say, this is we're learning this together type approach here.
Mm-hmm. And if somebody else has the answer, we'll find it and give it to you that way.
Yeah, exactly. So one of the things I'm interested in doing, adding shading to a design. For instance, how would you do the heart lighter on one side rather than a solid fill? So that's a really good one. I'm going to tell you
Thanks for the example.
In theory how it's done.
Mm-hmm.
We'll show you actually how it's done in a screencast, but we're actually using two different colors, and we're using a light density stitch over the top of another fill. We're either doing it with kind of a ragged satin stitch on one side that allows some of it to show through, or we're doing it with a couple of series of light density stitches. So we may go over it 2 or 3 times, but with a really light density stitch, and we concentrate it more on the other side. So anyway, I'm excited to show how that's done.
Great.
Another one was, I would like you to bring in a small size B, that's a true type font letter, draw it and digitize it with a satin stitch.
Okay, I think I've actually seen, there's a video that I would like to show you later on. A letter B as a true type font and digitize it with satins. Okay,
and if anybody's brave enough to show it off here on the fly, let me know. We'll put you on. Okay. Jan says that, let's see, kind of a continuation. So she started off by saying, I hate auto-digitizing, too many nodes, messy results. I can vector draw it better myself. And then continues, like drawing it in Adobe Illustrator. I can't wait to see if StitchArtist 3 can cleanly digitize an EPS or other vector that I draw in Illustrator. Yeah, I would like to see that too. Until that point, the best I can suggest is to output that vector image in the form of a bitmap at a fairly high resolution, and then use the trace. Just like in Illustrator, you've got these vector tools to draw with. StitchArtist 2 has what they call a Bezier curve, which is the same principle. And so you can use StitchArtist to draw someone. Obviously, does not have all the tools and power that Adobe Illustrator has with all the levels and layers and all that cool stuff. But you can do the basics with it. You'll find that if you can learn that, those that have some kind of drawing experience with Illustrator or something else can usually adapt pretty good to the drawing tools on StitchArtist and vice versa. Okay, Lorna says that she would love to see how to digitize fonts.
Okay.
Yeah, and I understand that with this, there's a lot of power, especially if you have the alpha tricks, because you can digitize these fonts and save them out in BX format, and they can be combined or typed in just like its own font. Its own
just like font. A keyboard lettering. Let's zoom in on what I did here. Ha, look at that. I made a B with a satin stitch.
Okay, so, all right.
Now I would want to test this out and stitch it. I'm not sure of my abilities yet. It looks like I've got some really long satins that I might want to address.
Yeah. And those you can change in and change the direction nodes to change that. Either B, the column also on the B, typically we would do that straight column as one stitch Mostly because stitches have a tendency to they'll pull in, and that will vary depending on the fabric and the tensions and other. And so if you're digitizing something professionally, for example, you want to be able to digitize the design so it works on the widest variety of fabrics as possible. And so you use as many tucks as you can to tuck one, part of the satin in underneath the other, or digitize it in such a way that it's resistant. This one right here, if we put this on a really stretchy fabric, we could have this problem with that bottom part of the bee being thinner, than the top part of the bee, because the stitches, it tends to pull in the direction of the stitch. Okay, so
there's something to learn here.
So Vicky said, I digitized my signature and my handwriting. I'm looking forward to putting it on the quilt labels. It's really fun to have your handwriting stitched out.
I had heard where you could make handwriting into a true type, or at least a keyboard font, and just for typing. That would be really cool to use it in embroidery.
Yeah, I've always wondered if you could do a legally binding document with a stitch signature.
Let's try it out. Well, Vicky, you'll have to show that to us. I hope you'll put it in the forum.
Okay, Della said when I did that and changed the inclination lines, it messed up the whole letter. So it looks like we're not quite there as far as the B there for you, but we will.
Yeah. I can see that I feel like I'm going to mess it up if I change anything, and I also don't think it's good as it is, so I wouldn't be ready to stitch it. You're right, we've got to learn something here.
Okay. Julie says, so how large can you make that be? Can you enlarge it to 4 or 5 inches in height?
Ooh, let's see. I think that StitchArtist will actually let you do oh, look, it even looks better when I do. See, my long stitches aren't as long. Awesome. So you see, I'm just dragging it just to make it bigger. But
when we enlarge something with a satin stitch, the real limitation is the length of the stitch. It's usually about 7 millimeters is about as large as you'd like to go without having it split the stitch. And the reason is because the frame on your machine can only move so fast. And if you make the stitch too big, it's got to put that stitch down somewhere. So the frame, and so what usually happens is it will it'll just drop a stitch down in the middle of the satin stitch. Some of the industrial machines and some of the machines have what they call a jump stitch, where there's a solenoid that will actually stop the stitch from going down in that spot, so you won't get a penetration. But then you end up with another problem, and that is, big long stitches that you can accidentally snag, and then it comes all unraveled. So if you go too big, you may need to change that to a fill stitch or put in some split stitches in the middle of it.
Yeah, you can see on my properties right now, I have a 7.7 millimeter stitch length in there for the size of this bee. So I've seen, in my experience, it's been that some machines will, treat it winds up looking like a jump, and they're like, what happened to my stitch? It's not there. It's just jumping. And that's because the machine, like Darrin was explaining, can't actually go that far and put that stitch down. And then others, if they actually do stitch it out, then you have the issue of maybe this design is not going to be very stable because you'll be snagging it and it won't look good for very long. But that depends on what you want to use it on. If it's being hung on a wall, it's probably not a problem. If it's on a jacket or something you're going to wear a lot, it might be a problem.
All right. And a related question, Jan says, can you edit the inclination lines on the bee?
Okay, Darrin, tell me what the inclination lines are. I think that you can.
Yes.
I don't know if I can.
Well, yeah, you can. So it's these little
white circles?
Yeah. Oh. Okay, wait a second. That's
actually busy.
Yeah, so let's see. There we go.
I changed it back.
So we really need to get
very good.
Yep. Let's see. Click on, well, you are on your satin properties here.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. I was just doing it earlier. Let's see. Jan says, undo, undo.
Good idea. If we want to save this view, we have to undo it. So Control Z.
Okay, so
That looks much better, right? Okay.
Della
Inclination
says it's
yes,
under the
thank you.
pen. Yeah.
Under the
Did you
pen.
find it there?
This one here?
Yeah, check that there. Let's see. No, is that?
What does this do? Oh, look at that. What does it do? Let's
Okay,
see.
then I'll go there.
I don't know what that did. Look at me. Because I don't know what that tool is
Okay.
yet.
I think you've got this as, you know, when we look at this bee, we're actually looking at several satin stitches, you know, because we're going to come down here on the base. I wish I could draw on this the same time you're presenting, but, you know, you've got one inclination line here, which if you're doing this in a fill stitch makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
But a satin stitch, we want that to curve around. So, yeah, we're going to hit on that some more.
Yep.
And
If we can't do it tonight,
you're
we
gonna
will.
see some cast on each of these things here. Oh, she says hit enter.
Thank you. Thank you for that. Yay. Okay, so maybe I need to switch this around another way. Maybe I want to do that. And hit enter. Oh, look what I did. Don't do that. Undo. Well, this is kind of fun.
I think the fun thing about this is you're going to see like these guys are idiots. We can't I came to take a class, but we promise you this is all going to be worth it because we're going to, you know, we're with you as far as the learning of it, and we're going to be looking into these resources, and we are literally going to be learning this together with each other's ideas. And there's an aspect of learning, you know, that comes when you're sharing ideas or you're teaching. That just really solidifies the things that you do know. And so we're just jumping in with this with both feet, and that's pretty cool what you've got there.
Isn't it? I made it by accident. It is awesome. I don't know how I did it, so to do it again would be a little more difficult. I think it happened when I pulled that little inclination line thing and made it go backwards, but you all have to tell me.
Okay, Lorna says, are you going to show the push and pull compensation with the varying letters and objects? Yeah, I would love to cover that because that's an important part of the digitizing. You've got to visualize, you know, how the fabric's going to pull. With most commercial designs, we would, you know, find out primarily what they're going to sew it on. You know, for example, if they were sewing it on, you know, there's the push and the pull, and then there's something else that's a headache that you have to worry about when you're on some machines like the 6-panel caps. Remember sewing those out?
Yes, I do.
What a headache those were. And that wasn't a push or pull compensation, but you'd actually, you know, have the hat slip in the hoop a little bit as you're sewing it out. So as a digitizer, you'd have to digitize it in such a way that would minimize the amount of drift that would happen in a design. You know, in some cases, you'd have to kind of go back and forth between each letter. So there's these theories here. We'll put some resources in the group as far as some good resources for learning about the design. Lindy Goodall has a really good ebook called Anatomy of a Design, which goes into those issues as well as I've seen anybody do it. And so that's available from her website, Lindy G Embroidery. You can also find it on embroidery.com. So we'll take a chapter out of that and hit there. Here's a good point. I was going to mention this anyway. Cynthia says that John Deere has lessons already for StitchArtist. John Deere is just a fantastic digitizer. I don't think there's anybody better out there. And he's done a series for StitchArtist, and he goes through some steps, you know, in an organized way. His website's adorableideas.com, and also on the news group, this is a Facebook page called StitchArtist Addicts. John has posted a number of little shorts on that you can go in. I recommend that if you're not part of that group already, that you subscribe to that. It's got a great discussion that's happening there. Allison says, I would like to see how to digitize continuous line quilting type designs for quilting in the hoop. The promo materials mention fill and motif stitches. It would be nice to learn how to do that. Yes, I've seen some of those. Vicky said, a few times I've tried to digitize an area of a picture and there was a narrow area and I'd get a crazy stitch, lines going into the middle of nowhere that were very difficult to get rid of. I figured it had to do with the stitch length and or direction. Any idea? I've seen that as well, and usually that has to do with the placement of the nodes when we're creating the designs. And this comes back to this issue of auto-digitizing. Sometimes if two nodes are placed really close together, there's this there's this definition. If we think about how this design is stored in the computer, and we've got two lines that are really close. They're not far enough apart to really define the angle. And so when we add the stitches, it's using that baseline to generate the stitches. It will do some crazy things at times. So I actually saw a video not too long ago on how to correct that. So we're going to address that one as well. So we only have about 10 minutes of our discussion here left tonight. So continue if you put up some additional questions. This is what we are going to prepare for, and we'll make up either these screencasts or the content of our next webinar. This one here is just a way to get to know each other and to get started, see where everybody's at, and go over the things that everybody would like to learn from this. Looks like most of you have StitchArtist already, and that's fantastic. There's a good group that's already using it. For those that have friends that are looking for StitchArtist, on our last webinar, we are going to be having a webinar. On the last webinar, we're going to be having a drawing, and anybody that has StitchArtist version 1, we're going to do a drawing for StitchArtist 2. And if you've got StitchArtist 2 and you've purchased it from embroidery.com, we're going to do a drawing for StitchArtist 3. So some of you have asked when StitchArtist 3 is going to be released. I don't have an exact date on that. I heard that it's going to be early summer here, so coming soon. Let's see, okay, Jan said, this is really fun. I have so many gaps in my knowledge. Jan, I hear you, because right now I've got this whole gap ahead of me here. I'm going to try to fill in here. Pat says, I may be better with StitchArtist than with PC. I will need to know how to do screenshots to share. Okay, Pat, are you using Windows 7? If you are, there is a really cool tool. I'm going to try to show you how to do that here. Kirsten, are you still there? Let's see, I can't hear you. Checking audio.
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, there we go.
Yes, do you want me to go ahead and try and do that, or do you want to share?
Yeah, go ahead. I just show a screen capture using the snippet tool.
Do you know, I actually have never used the snippet tool. You'll have to tell me. What I usually do is for XP, so I could show you how to do that.
Okay, let me show you on Windows 7. Okay, so let's see. I'm going to make myself the presenter here. Give me one moment.
While he's doing that, I can tell you for lots of things, you can actually just hold down the alternate and touch print screen, and that puts a picture of your window in your clipboard. And then you can just control paste once you've opened your paint program, and there's your picture.
Okay. Let's see. Okay, so I'm showing my whole monitor here. Okay, so I've actually used it so much that I've pasted the clipboard right down, the clipping tool right down here at the bottom. That's called a snipping tool. If you want to add that to your taskbar, you can just right-click on it and say pin to start menu here somewhere. Pin to start menu, right there. Okay, so that works is I click on it and it just kind of changes my whole screen. Oh, you're not going to see this because this happens kind of below the level of the webinar.
Oh no.
Okay, so anyway, I click on this. It brings up a little box, and then I just lasso the area that I want to clip, and it just puts it on the clipboard. At that point, I can save it or I can paste it into an email, and you can just email that into us. And we can, some of those we'll put in the forum. The forum will also let you put graphics in there. I have had some that were having trouble with that, so let me know if that doesn't work. Just go ahead and email it to me.
Can we do a screencast of how to do using snippet and such?
Yes, we should be able to.
Than the webinar? Okay.
Yeah, I think that might work because that's directly on the screen. With the webinar, they don't show you the underlying stuff. The webinar is in that place, taking that spot. So.
Okay.
Okay. Let's see. Jan said that on the Mac, use the Shift Command and 4 and draw a rectangle, and it will create a screen dump. Excellent for those that have Macs. Let's see. Tracy said, can we add outlines where you click on the wheel and the area, and how? Let's see. Can we add outlines where you click on the wheel with the area, and how? I'm not sure if I quite understand. Let's see.
Can we do outlines where you click on the, is it wheel, W-H-E-E-L?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
I've got, how do you know how dense to make the underlay stitching?
Oh.
That's a really good question.
Yeah.
I can answer that in theory here, so in a moment here. Shift Command 4 will give you a crosshair that you can drag around the area on the screen, and it will save it as a ping file. So that answers Tracy's question, which is Sniplet available for Mac? So following those procedures that Jan has outlined using the Command 4 will basically do the same thing as the Sniplet tool. Okay, Tracy says the wheel with the arrow.
Oh, this one. It's, Darrin, it's right next to the quill on your tool pane. Lower. Oh, that wheel, the merge design?
Is that the wheel?
The wheel I think she's talking about is on the lower tool pane.
Okay, I'm not seeing.
It's a circle.
Are you seeing it on my screen?
Yes, I am. You see where the word stitch is? Just above your mouse? No, that's just above my mouse, huh? Up where where I touch to bring in the image, that area where all this the stitches. Yes. Now see the little quill pen to your right?
Okay.
See this little circle with the arrow on it? Maybe that's the wheel with the arrow.
Okay. Yeah, that one closes an area. So if I draw something like this, and I want to just close it off, I can push that, and it just finishes off the area. And then I can add a fill. So if I wanted to put in a fill stitch.
Or you could use any of the pattern fills as well.
Yeah, we'll get to the fun stuff like cross stitch. Okay. So, very basic stuff. Which I'm just the basic stuff. Okay, I'm going to pull in an image out of the library. We're going to bring in a clover. So I bring that in, click on that. I've got my nodes. I can move around if I want to. I can make this larger. I can copy this because I'm going to do a fill stitch with an outline. So I'm going to hit Control C. I'm going to hit Control V. So now I have two of them. If I look at my, like over on my side, I've got them both over there. The first one, I'm going to just put in a fill stitch. And who's ever heard of a green clover? So we're going to just pick the color.
Yep.
A red clover here, so we don't want red. And then I'm going to click on my other design, my other one, and I'm going to create a satin stitch that goes around it. I didn't change the color there, did I?
No.
So anyway, but I do have a red clover with the fill, and then I've got the outline around it. You know, and that's the basics of a design. So anyway, I'm feeling pretty good about myself that I've actually created something here.
Yeah, I'm impressed.
Okay. Let's see. We've got Brenda who said that she downloaded a free app called Snip for the Mac, and it works just like it for the PC.
Yay.
And Jody said, will we learn to make a sturdy lace object? Jody, I don't think that we're going to get, we'll have some of the motif fills, but it probably won't get into how to make a freestanding lace design in here unless somebody wants to share a way or send us a video on how to do it.
I know that from my creating the schedule for this, that there is a section on lace, freestanding lace objects in our reading. And we will certainly be diving into that. I don't know how much detail it gives us, but looks to me like, yes, I'm going to say yes, we're going to be looking into that. I'm not sure how far we'll get into it, whether it'll be a sturdy one or if we'll just begin to learn freestanding lace, but there is a section of that on our manual that we'll be covering. There are properties for the lace that shows freestanding, so you would want to do the pattern of your fill to be a freestanding double stitch, and then you can pick the density and the stitch length and the pattern of it if it wants to be a diamond or whatnot. You're still trying to make that a green
Well, I was told
color.
to push the enter, so I'm hitting this.
Uh-huh.
Hitting OK. Oh, there we go. I must have canceled. There we go. Down to basic computer use.
It looks a little bit more alive now. Good job.
And we're just going to...
Freestanding lace. I'm going to put that down. Thanks for the suggestion.
Okay. There's a question here on why this clover looks like it's two colors. There's a little bit of like here at the bottom or so.
Yeah, I don't know. I've noticed that on a few other designs that I've used.
It's more of a rendering issue. So we've got this 3D stitch. Well, let's see.
If you take 3D off.
And what it's doing is it's trying to simulate where the light's coming from. And because this area is stitched in actual sections, we come down here, and then here I'll show you. This is a great tool. I love this.
Stitch Simulator,
the Stitch Simulator, because I can go through this whole thing and we can see exactly how it's going through. So this is the underlay, and then we've stitched this area and this one here, and then it comes back, and it's quite a while before it comes down and touches this right here. But the stitches don't exactly line up. More stitches are going one direction versus another direction, and so the penetration's slightly different. It's not something you'd notice in the embroidery, but the way that it gets rendered, I noticed that it will get rendered slightly different because the light's coming from a different angle.
So it makes it look like the sun is hitting the lower part of the clover harder than it is the upper part.
Yeah, I think that's just a shortcoming with the 3D rendering.
Interesting. Good question. Thank you.
Okay, Tracy says, if there's not an outline in the library of outlines, can we add additional outline shapes? There is a drop-down that says import libraries.
Adding shapes, I think so, from what I've read. We will read further. That's a really good question.
So we've got this import catalog. So these are ones that are, the BX, that's an Embrilliance. type, whether there's a bunch of them out that are public domain, or whether you're buying them from somebody that's digitized them. But we can create outlines essentially by using these drawing objects, these tools here, when we create something. That right there can be saved as an outline in some format. And we'll figure out how to show it. Okay, Vicky said that underlay on the clover is really dense. Was that the correct density? This kind of gets back into what densities work well. There's two ways to approach density, and I guess we're almost out of time here, but I'll just answer this real quick. One is to decrease the amount of space between each row of stitches, and another one is to increase the frequency in which the underlay goes. And I made the discovery when I was digitizing that increasing or decreasing the space between the stitches is a bad idea. It took a lot more stitches. If I made the row, for example, instead of 0.4 millimeters, I made it 0.3 millimeters. I found that it was better to run a higher underlay fill perpendicular to the fill stitch, and this does it automatically, and it keeps those stitches up out of the fabric, and adds a lot to it. I'll look at the densities on here and see if it's something that I would have used, but that can be adjusted. I mean, if you're gonna, it depends on what you're sewing it on. We don't want bulletproof designs, but usually the underlay is not what makes the design bulletproof. It's usually too high of a density on the top stitch, or where we're putting one top stitch over another top stitch and we haven't cut in around it. So that's a good one to explore. I'd love to see that explored further on the forum. Okay, I think that does it for the questions. Thank you so much for coming tonight and joining us here. I think that this is going to be an exciting thing for all of us here as we go through these. And Kirsten, it looks like we've got some projects and our own homework. So your homework comes from us through the daily emails, and our homework comes from you. So
it's lovely how that works.
Okay. And Jan says, it's so fun, love to learn with you. I may be able to help you with some of the Mac issues. That's awesome.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you, Jan. Okay. All right. Well, we'll be talking with you over the week, and for sure see you at the next webinar. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Thanks for coming.
Bye-bye.
Good evening.